Hi, my name is Patrick Meehan. I'm with UBC Debate Society, and I'm here moderating the Arts Undergraduate Society debates. And we have before me is Elysia Pyne, who's running for VP Internal, and I understand she's got some opening remarks for you.
Thank you. Yes, as I said, my name is Elysia Pyne. I'm running for Vice President Internal, and I started out this year in political science as the poli-sci or PSSA undergrad AUS rep. In January, the current VPI had to withdraw due to personal reasons, and so I stepped up, was nominated for the position of VPI, and elected by council, and I've been serving ever since. I've started putting a few policies into place that I'd like to see, things I'd like to see changed, and I would like the opportunity to continue to do so next year. And I'm currently running uncontested, but I believe that anything worth doing is worth doing right. And so I'm campaigning just as if I had competition.
All right, so we've heard from other candidates that relations between the AUS and its member clubs is less than ideal. Would you agree that before you came in January that was generally the case, given your experience with the political science student union?
Well, in September, that was my first time experiencing AUS student club relations, and the exec team had just implemented some new rules, as in doubling the budget for the clubs. So there must have been some problems beforehand, because they were working very hard to increase club relations. And however, I still think there's room for improvement, and I intend to continue to improve upon that, supporting the clubs based on funding, based on networking between the clubs and the AUS, and between the clubs and the students that could be members of the clubs that may not know about them or be aware of them. And also networking between the clubs and the administration.
All right, you've been in office for about 2 months now, as I understand it. What concrete things have you done to improve that relationship between the AUS and the clubs in terms of communication?
Well, in the first week that I became VPI, I created a Facebook group for all of the AUS reps, or the club reps, so that all of the club reps could get to know each other and have a forum to communicate. Because even though we see each other once a week in council, and most of them spent the retreat in Whistler together, they don't necessarily have an ongoing, continued format to communicate and get together outside of council. So that was one of my goals. I also plan for next year to increase that by having actual meetings or parties of some sort for increased socialization of all the club reps on a monthly basis, I hope.
All right, so you want to increase that communication level. What else do you want to do with clubs in terms of what the clubs are able to do on campus and where they're able to do it?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, I think student awareness, like the general student body awareness, is really important. And right now, it seems to me that clubs, the only way to contact them are either through clubs weeks, which are at the beginning of term, and there's booths in the sub concourse. Basically, anybody who walks by, they have to advertise themselves and be like, come join us. Some clubs have fantastic departments behind them, supporting them, that help get the message out to all students who are registered in the specific department. But I would like to see that happen with all of the departments and all the departmental clubs. I would like to see the departments working to ensure that all students who are registered in those departments are aware of the club and what the club offers them, and that their involvement in the club will help increase their ability to influence what happens with their student fees.
Speaking of student fees, there's a referendum going on right now for art students, and I'm sure you're aware of it. I'm sure you've probably been part of the planning process for it, to increase the student fees in order to build more student space on campus, in specific around the Buchanan building areas, obviously. Do you support the fee, first of all? And what do you envision that money going towards in terms of where the increase of student space will come, in terms of what its form will take, whether it's sort of individual space or group space or whatnot?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to support yes or no because I want to leave that up to the students. I think the students should do their research and think about what it means to them and whether or not they want their fees increased to be spent on this. However, the Arts Undergraduate Student Space Expansion Project looks like if we increase the fee from what is currently $13 to $18 coming in September, and by $5 every year after that, that will help fund increased student space. So if they want the student spaces built, and by that I mean the one in Buchanan D, there will be expansion there and better utilization of the space, and also they're looking at putting in a space underneath Buchanan B, between A and C, there's still debate over what exactly those spaces are going to be used for, but basically more offices for clubs and for execs, so that all the clubs can be in the same place and more accessible to the students. Yeah, I think it's really up to the students if they want to pay $5. If they agree, if this project is something that they want to see happen, then vote yes for the increase of the fees. But if they have an issue with that, I don't want to influence their decision on that.
Without influencing their decision, but trying to make you take a stand on this, which way, if you don't mind my asking, do you personally intend on voting?
I'm still undecided, honestly, because I haven't finished doing my own homework on it. And I want to go through the plans one more time and the letters Guillaume, the current VP, or current president, has sent out on Facebook and to the Arts List. I want to go over that in more depth and really take my time in deciding this. I definitely think we need more student space on campus, and I definitely think this looks like the time and the place to do that. But before making a final decision, I'm going to look into it more. And I think you should too.
What do you think the priority for more student space should be? Should it be individual study space like you have in Mass right now, where there's large numbers of chairs that people can sit down individually, or do you think it should be meeting space like there is also within Mass, where you've got sort of the smaller, the war room and the skirmish room, as they're called? Which do you think the priority would be?
Sorry, the meeting space or study space? I think both. I think both are a priority. I think study space is important. I know a lot of students who don't like going to Irving or IKB to study, and they want to study in Buchanan, and there are some study spaces. I'd like to see more couches in those study spaces. But it's nice to have a blend. It's nice to have a space where it's designated study space that's quiet, and a space for socializing, that there could be music playing, which was actually initially what Mass was intended for. It was actually intended to be a social space and not a study space. So it's turned into a study space, but if that's what the students want, then I think that's what it should be. On that note, in determining how this space, if we go ahead with the project and we get funding, in determining how this space should be used, I think the students should be polled. And I think not just the Arts List, and not just, I think all art students should be polled. And in order to do that, we would need to work with the admissions to get the emails.
Well, now, as VP Internal, you do have a role in terms of setting the sites, in terms of club interactions, and in terms of one of the main ways that students interact with the U.S. Undergraduate Society. And so in that regard, I think that maybe it might be important for you to take sort of an initiative and a stand on this, on the